was later when I had done some research to help myself recover that I discovered that poor exercise tolerance can occur after a brain injury. I did read an article by Mosberg and colleagues that was titled Endurance Training and Cardiorespiratory Conditioning After a Traumatic Brain Injury. And in their article, they said a sedentary lifestyle and lack of endurance are common characteristics of individuals with traumatic brain injury who have had a reduction in peak aerobic capacity of 25 to 30% compared to healthy individuals. So this made a lot of sense to me. And after, and I'm sure several of you are told, was to rest until your brain injury symptoms went away. But that can increase your risk to having poor exercise tolerance later on in your recovery. That can increase your risk is if you are return to work and are working more hours than you are able to maintain a balance of having activity and exercise in your lifestyle. And then on top of it, if you have a long commute, like for example, I had an hour plus commute each way, this is going to increase your risk of that sedentary lifestyle, that sedentariness, increasing your risk of that poor exercise tolerance. And then this is without the addition of other issues such as balance or dizziness or pain that comes sometimes along with those brain injuries, and neurofatigue, which I've talked about in the past, and will limit and prevent an individual getting motivated to exercise and being able to exercise because they're just too tired to get better. Her recommendation is just to rest 48 hours after a brain injury and to get moving slowly back to your previous activity slowly and safely, and of course under the supervision of your general practitioner. So why is it so hard to get exercising after a brain injury or a concussion? This, like I said before, is multifaceted, and some of the possible causes are that there is a change in the way the blood flows in and out of the brain. This is known as autonomic nervous system dysfunction. And when the brain flow is off, you aren't going to feel good exercising. And if you exercise and you're developing your brain injury symptoms such as headache, dizziness, fatigue, or cognitive difficulty, then you're pushing yourself too hard, and you need to back off and try to exercise without activating those symptoms. And I'll talk more about that later. The other thing is the deconditioning component. When you try to exercise, you're not going to feel good like you did in the past, especially if you try to go back to your old level of exercise. When you rest during your early phase of your recovery, that can increase your risk of deconditioning, which is loss of muscle tone and strength, and then a decreased aerobic capacity, which is the ability for your muscles to get oxygen to them during exercise. There's also neuroendocrine disruptions that can happen after a brain injury. So hormonal imbalances can lead to less muscle mass and decreased energy. So if your symptoms do persist trying to exercise, you feel like you're hitting a wall, follow up with your general practitioner. You may need a referral to an endocrinologist to be screened for those issues. And then not being able to balance well, feeling off, when you're walking, difficulty with your gait, neck pain, or any other injury that you have from your brain injury is also going to hamper your desire to want to exercise. Exercise is crucial when it comes to your brain healing after a brain injury. And some of the benefits of exercise are it improves mood, increases creativity and cognitive function. It lowers stress. After a brain injury, there's a lot of stress, so you got to work on managing that, and exercise will help you with that. It lowers stress hormones, which are the worst because they make you put weight on around your belly, and that's not fun. Improves pain control. So if you have other injuries from your brain injury, movement is going to help take the edge off that pain. And it improves sleep, and sleep is really important to the recovery from injuries and your brain injury. It decreases your risk of developing neurodegenerative issues later on in life, such as Alzheimer's, dementia. It helps prevent of what you may hear about is brain atrophy or where the brain shrinks. So exercise combats that, and it lowers your risk of stroke. And lowering your risk of stroke then decreases your risk of developing vascular dementia later on in life. And exercise promotes neuroplasticity, which is the rewiring of your brain, which is key, which you're going to need when your brain is healing, to try and make new connections around the old connections that were lost. And when you exercise, the likelihood of you returning back to work is elevated. It's increased. So it's really important in your recovery. Exercise will support your brain's health, and it also helps normalize cerebral vascular physiology dysfunction, which I had talked about earlier. One of the reasons why it's difficult to exercise is because of the change in the way the blood flows in and out of the brain, and exercise will help to stabilize. So there's a lot of benefits to exercise that are going to support your brain's healing journey.